and welcome to quite nice Hilton Hotel here at Gatwick in United Kingdom. I am actually traveling once again and heading to beautiful south of France. Tomorrow I will be flying to Marseille, where I'm going to be joining other photographers, and first traveling to beautiful Camargue, where we're going to photograph the famous white wild horses there in Camargue, also the Camargue bulls. And then after that, we're gonna reroute back to Provence, where we're gonna photograph beautiful lavender fields as well as some models and so on. So I have a big photography trip in front of me, and while I'm doing that, I thought it would be fun to jump on a live stream and talk to you at some or different points of the trip about some photography and travel tips and tricks. So today, in this first episode, since I'm staying in this hotel here, I want to talk to you about how to keep your gear safe and secure when you're staying in hotels, when you're traveling together. So I have 8 points or 8 tips I want to go through. I think about 15-20 minutes should give us plenty of time to do that, and I really hope that you're going to enjoy it. Now, to start with, one more time, I am heading to south of France, to Camargue and Lavender, and I'm going to be photographing there. And actually, this year, all our bookings are already closed, but if you would want to join us in the future for one of these workshops, we have another workshop scheduled already for 2026. We're looking for 10 students, so come and join us. We're going to do some Luminar NEO editing as well as photograph some beautiful, beautiful things. So let's get on with it. We have 8 points to cover. So let's just make sure that I have everything set right. Let me just double check. And we can start. So looking from the point number 1. How to keep your gear secure. Now, 3 things here. Obviously, most of the current rooms have their own safe. Usually it's in a wardrobe. Some of them you can open it with your card, with the key to the room. Other ones, you can create your own code, and you can basically keep your gear inside. Now, depending on the hotel, some of them are bigger than the others, but in general, it's a good idea to put your camera there, sometimes even laptop, and any of the gear you can fit inside, especially when you're away from the room. So I think the hotel safe, which is again usually in a wardrobe, is a good place to keep your gear. Another option is actual portable travel safe. Not many people know that it exists. There is different sizes and different options out there. You can get like really small portable safe, which can cost you around 30-40 pounds, so again about $30-40, or you can get a really big one, which generally is quite heavy, so you would probably want to be traveling by car, but those you can buy about $100-150, 150 pounds, and take them with you. So you can always have your safe in a room as well as your own portable safe. Another thing which I think is interesting, and not many, sorry for that, and not many people realize, is the little lock on your, of course my watch will go on now. So another thing people don't realize, and that's the little lock you can add to your suitcase. Many people use them, obviously, when they're traveling. They have them attached, when they fly, to keep the luggage safe. However, you can actually also use that in a room. You can easily lock your luggage whenever you're away, and that way you keep the luggage safe when you're inside of the room. So talking about security, the safe inside of the room, then the portable safe you can buy, and third one is make sure that you lock your luggage just like you do when you're flying, even when it's in a room, when you're going for your breakfast or when you go away. So that's how you keep your gear secure. Talking about packing and organizing yourself, this one is especially to make sure that you don't forget anything inside of the room. So first thing, I think it's a good idea to keep like dedicated pouches. So basically you have everything organized inside. And usually when you do that, you can get one look, you look at your gear and you know if you're missing something or if you have everything together. Most photographers have a certain habit or way of storing their gear together, so everything is nicely organized, and then usually it just takes a minute to look at it and you know if you have forgot something or not. So pouches, organizing yourself, and keep storing and organizing your stuff consistently is a way of making sure that you don't forget anything in a room. Now, talking about charging, obviously, multi-port charging station is a good idea because in that case, you don't have to carry too many different plug one charger in a wall and then have a multiple outlets, and you can charge everything from your camera, watch, mobile phone, your laptop or tablet or whatever you need. Of course, that if you're traveling to the area where maybe you're going to need an adapter, it's a good thing to get few because quite often they burn the fuse and then you end up without one. So bring 2, 3. I usually take 2, 3 different kinds and just use them. So for example, I live in UK where we have this kind of almost strange triple plug, and then in Europe they use the other way. So it's a good idea to bring a couple with you just to stay safe and to make sure that you can power up and charge all your gear. So multi-port USB charger, just to make sure that you can plug everything, then these adapters, and also just keep an eye on all your gear whenever you're charging, especially the expensive gear. Maybe charge it only when you're in a room, so overnight is fine, obviously you're there, but I'm trying to avoid to charge things when I'm going out, when I'm going to the city or when I'm going out shooting, simply because if something happens and it's kind of set on fire, or even if it just melts, it's not really a great experience. So that would be for charging and the power management. Now, a big one when it comes to security of your gear is basically insurance. I mean, in 2025, do not travel without insurance. It really doesn't cost that much money. You can very easily get an insurance for $10, $20 for the trip and insure everything you have. Make sure that you calculate how much money is in your gear, your lenses, your body, your backpack, everything there, and make sure that you get the insurance for it. That's a must. But it's not only that. There are 2 more things you want to do. You want to take a picture of your gear, for example, the camera, and make sure that you take a picture of all the serial numbers. When it comes to insurance later on, and when it comes to claiming and maybe dealing with an issue if something gone missing, these will just make your life much easier. That's not just your body, but also the lenses, maybe even tripod, whatever has any serial number, make sure that you mark it down and write it down. And the third thing for insurance and documentation is to make sure that all of these serial numbers are stored somewhere on a cloud. So let's say that everything gone missing, you can always access it and claim it later. So before you go anywhere, insurance is the first thing. Second thing is make sure that you write down and mark all the serials, and then that you store them online and in the cloud so you can access them from anywhere. Talking about going to maybe some unusual places, so tropical places like maybe places with lots of rain, talking about Iceland or some of the national parks and states or wherever there is a big difference between the conditions outside and inside of the room. You really want to keep your gear safe to avoid any humidity, fogging, or anything like that. Now, what lots of photographers suggest is when you come back from outside, put your gear inside of a towel. So basically, put your gear on a top with another one, like this for a couple of hours. Maybe you go for dinner or drink or edit your pictures, but keep your gear in these towels, and that will basically slow down the adjustment of the temperature and humidity in the room, and your gear will stay safe. So putting your gear inside of the towel when you come back from outside, if you have spent all day in the rain, is definitely a good idea. Another thing to avoid is to keep your gear close to the air condition. Again, that's a big temperature difference and big temperature change, so you want to avoid that. And equally, compared to the cold, with the heat, what you want to do, you want to make sure that you don't keep your gear on a direct sunlight. So, if you're somewhere, again, in a hot place, there is lots of heat coming through the window, don't leave your camera, laptop, and everything on your bed or wherever with the direct sunlight on it. It will just heat it up, and you never know what that can do. So we talked about humidity and temperature control. Tip number 6 is about room selection, and I guess hotel selection in overall. Now there is some people assume that the more expensive hotels or more big brands are safer when it comes to securing your gear, and that's not necessarily the case at all. It depends on a scenario, it depends what it can happen. Don't trust into the brand, but rather in taking precautions like by storing your gear in the safes, talking to the hotel if they have a security room, maybe keeping it there and so on. Because it doesn't matter about the brand, it's always the people in it Some may be just opportunistic people from outside, sometimes even the staff. It's really better to stay safe and secure on your own, not necessarily because of the hotel. But in general, it's a good idea to always pick up higher floors. They can be a little less risky, they're usually more secure and often also more quiet. So I always like to ask for as high room as possible. Also, when it comes to hotels, while it's a good option to stay in a center or somewhere in a busy place, generally those hotels are the first one to be picked. So maybe something a little bit away from the city center or town or the area where you're staying can be a good idea. And again, you can always ask about the secure storage or locker where you can put your stuff in, and that way you keep everything safe. When it comes to your room, and again, just trying to keep it away from any opportunity, I always think it's a good idea to keep your gear packed and hidden away. Imagine that you just going for breakfast for half an hour and the housekeeper come in maybe to clean your room, or maybe she didn't know that you were away, and obviously that personnel is coming in and you have camera gear everywhere. You have your cameras and laptops and lenses and just hundreds and thousands of pounds and dollars lying around. And that can be really tricky, not necessarily for the staff member, but for anybody. When you're looking at the gear lying around, it's just an attraction you don't need. So you want to avoid that. So of course, when you're working, when you're in a room, you're more than welcome to take everything out, clean it, organize it. But I think when you're out of the room, even if it's just for breakfast or drink, close everything, zip everything, take it out of the way, so then it doesn't tempt anyone, or it just doesn't bring too much attention to itself. So while it's difficult to hide as a photographer, we are quite obvious, it's not the greatest idea to just showcase all your stuff around. Now, seventh tip is about a quick room check before leaving. Now, I have to say that I am terrible at this. I always lose something every time I travel. Now, it's not necessarily camera gear. It's usually things like my toiletries or jeans or shirts, or always something. Also, one thing I'm good at losing is like an electric toothbrush. I'm on my, I don't know, like a 15th, and it's just shame. So what you should do, make yourself a routine on how to check your room. Just to kind of check. There's few things I always remember to check: credit card, passport, and my mobile phone. Because I know that as long as I have these three, everything is safe. So when I'm leaving from home and going for travel, these three things I know I need to have, otherwise I cannot travel. Again, credit card, mobile phone, and passport. And then similarly, you check that you have your camera back, you have your camera inside, you check that you have your luggage, you have all your chargers. Another thing to do is to go to these charging points. So some people charge right next to the bed, some people on the table in front of it. So check this area, check behind the bed, under the bed. I always go on my knee and check to make sure that maybe my earphones or something is not behind, and just double check to make sure that you don't leave anything behind. So basically like a check. And then once you get through the door, one more mental check. Did I not forget everything? Do I have my camera backpack? So it's really easy to have everything ready, already leave, and then somebody distract you on the halfway, maybe your friend bump into you, you start to talk to him, and before you realize you have left something behind. And in a better case, maybe you're just a few miles away. In a worst case, you could be already home. So definitely something to always double check. And finally, talking about an emergency or backup, I think it's always good to have a backup when it comes to photography. One thing, extra batteries and memory cards. I think it's always a good idea to pack more than you need. So I mean, I don't know how about you guys, but I always have a 4, 5, 6 batteries with me, even though I probably need 1 or 2, with the camera I have. It's more than enough. One battery is more than enough for the full photo shoot, but it's extra in case you miss something, it goes wrong and so on. So batteries definitely. Memory cards, hundreds. So I usually have about 20 with me, just in case. I never go through all of them. Everything is always safe because I take the picture at the spot. I upload it to the laptop as soon as I get home. That immediately gets uploaded to the cloud. So I never really miss any images, but it's just to be safe. So I always have a extra memory cards. When it comes to important photo shoots, I think it's also quite a good idea to bring extra body. I understand that financially that's maybe not possible, but as Emergency precaution, if you can have one more body with you, I think that's always a good idea. I have a friend, he's shooting with Sony a7R IV, and obviously to have another one just for an emergency can be quite expensive. So what he has, he just have a a7R1, you know, kind of earlier version of the camera. He never really shoot with it, but he has it just in case that something would go wrong with his camera body. And all the lenses he has in a backpack work with that body. So this way he just kind of go around this. So that's the second camera body. And finally, a little pouch with the tools, things like a little screwdriver or maybe wipes or, you know, everything you need. So for example, for drone, you know, to be able to replace the propellers or change things in a camera, I think it's a really good idea to have a little pouch with different tools to be able to adjust or repair to make. Always I look for a little local camera shop. Trip to Morocco, and there are not that kind of shops there, but in Europe generally there are shops still where you can go and they can help you with a little fix, you know, things like maybe clean your sensor or get extra lens cover or something like that. So anytime I go somewhere, I always do quick research, look for this local camera shop and have it at the back of my mind thinking, okay, if I need it, that's where I'm gonna go, and that's where I can get help with my gear. So we went through 8 points. Let's look at it. So first, we talked about the security of your gear. Always keep as much gear as you can inside of the room safe. If you have something bigger or really valuable, ask the hotel for their own security room or safety room where you can keep that. If you are away from the room, why not lock in the luggage just like you do when you're flying? I think that's always a good idea. When it comes to packing and organizing your stuff, make sure that you use dedicated pouches, have everything organized. So if you're looking at your gear, one quick look and you know if you're missing something or if you're not. Next to it, charging and also the power management. So if you're going abroad, always double check what kind of plugs there's going to be. If you need to bring in plugs, bring a couple because these break super easy and you don't want to end up without a charger. Now, generally, I think it's a good idea to invest a little bit more in them. I know you can get some really, really cheap, but it's just dangerous and you want to avoid that. Avoid charging your gear when you're out of the room or, yeah, when you're out of the room. It's not necessarily that it's going to cause fire, but things can go melting and overheated. And again, it's a trouble you don't want to have. Insurance and documentation. So again, insurance is a must. It's 2025. Things can go missing. Things can happen. And yes, it's a disaster when in the middle of the photo shoot or your workshop, you miss your camera. But at least you want to come back home and get paid for the camera by your insurance and get a new one. So definitely insurance. Quick tip here, mark down all the numbers, all the serial numbers of all your gear, write it down of your lenses, camera bodies, laptops, and everything. Make a document and save this document on a cloud. So that way, if you need to deal with an insurance, you can access it later. When it comes to humidity and temperature control, again, if you're traveling somewhere where there is a lot of rain or where there is a massive difference between the temperature outside and in a room, there is a risk that you will get humidity or that your gear will get wet by the quick change of the temperature. So I already mentioned, quick tip, lots of photographers, when they come in the room, they put one towel on the bed, on the top of it the gear, and another towel over, and leave it there like that for a couple of hours. And this way, what happens? Actually, the gear and the shock of the temperature isn't as rapid and it stays safer. Keep your gear away from air conditioning and keep your gear away from the direct sunlight through the window. Finally, quick room check. When you're leaving, get in a habit of checking under the bed, behind the bed, around the charging stations and plugs. And when you walk through the door, do one more mental check and one more eye scan of the room to make sure that you have not forgot anything. Also, create a habit of 2, 3, 4, 5 things you have at the back of your mind, which you always double check that you have before you leave. And finally, emergency and backup gear planning. So extra memory cards and extra batteries are must. If you can get secondary body, camera body, great. I think that could definitely save your life. And having a little pouch with tools in it just to be able to fix something is one thing. And again, if you do quick research around and find a near camera shop that can help you. I think it's always a great idea. Folks, that's about it. We went through 8 tips on how to travel with your photographic gear in hotels. Thank you very much for joining me. If you're watching live, if you're watching on replay, I hope this is going to be valuable. One more time, I'm heading to south of France. Tomorrow I'm flying to Marseille. We're going to be moving to Camargue, photographing the beautiful wild white horses and Camargue bulls. And from there, we're going to take the reroute into the lavender fields for some beautiful landscape photography, model photography, and all that. I'm going there with the amazing group of 3 nomads adventures, and the bookings for this year are already closed. But if you would like to join me next year, come with me to the south of France, do lots of editing in Luminar NEO and capture beautiful images, then definitely check out our workshop for next year. It's in the description of this video. I would love to see you there. Folks, have a lovely evening, and my next live will maybe from beautiful Camargue or maybe from middle of lavender fields. Have a great evening, everyone.